It is the 1st of July, so as always on the 1st of every month we do an update, look at the monthly closes. Now today is actually a bit special because it is not only the monthly close, but it is also the quarterly close and the 6-month close. So we are 6 months through the year. There's a lot of interesting stuff to look at, and in this video we are going to be exploring all of that. What's up guys, Dirk here from intelligentcryptocurrency.com. You know the deal. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, click that notification bell after you do. And if you want to get on my email list so I can notify you that way whenever there's a new upload or important update, the link is in the description down below. So before we get into today's content, just a quick note about our sponsor PrimeXBT, who have sponsored the channel for the month. They call themselves a next generation trading platform that allows you to trade global financial markets using Bitcoin, USDT, USDC, and more. And it's actually even possible to trade crypto, stock indices, commodities, and Forex from just a single account. So they were established in 2018, so they've been around for a while. They currently serve clients in more than 150 different countries, and they provide top-tier liquidity and a wide range of trading tools while maintaining security, liquidity, and enabling a safe trading environment for everyone. So if you want to check them out, you can create a free account with them today. It's the first link in the description below. If you use the voucher code DIGGY50, you also get a deposit bonus. All the details are below in the terms and conditions, so check that out if you want. First link in the description below. So let's start out by looking at the monthly returns chart. This is always interesting to see. So for the month of June, the price of Bitcoin monthly return was down by 5.95%. So that isn't really huge by itself. It isn't really anything out of the unordinary for June, right? You can see even in 2020, we had a negative 3%. 2018, we had negative 14%. In 2013, even as much as negative 29%. So for the month itself, it actually wasn't that bad. It was pretty much a stable month, which is pretty much something that I predicted. We'll see in a second when we run through the predictions. Now you can see over here, July, August, and September, there is a lot of red in them. But again, it doesn't mean just because there is mostly red that we can't see a green, right? It's very much also like you can't really determine that a single month is going to be green or red based on this. It's just based on probabilities, and sure, maybe there is a lot of green on average, but that doesn't mean that in a single year it can't be either green or red or vice versa, right? So let's look at the quarterly over here. So we had the quarter close, which is every 3 months. So that closed in March, the end of March, and it closed just yesterday at the end of June. And this was literally the worst quarter for Bitcoin returns in the history of Bitcoin since 2013. You can see over here, minus 40.36%. There were only 2 negative Q2 quarters for Bitcoin in 2018 and in 2013, and both of those were in the single-digit percentages. So this is by far the worst drawdown in Q2. But again, we had a huge run-up. As you can see, we had 4 green quarters in a row. So that was followed by a red quarter. So for Q3, you can see it's about 50% equal in green versus red. So 50% of the time, since 2013 anyways, there has been green and red, and you can see 40% plus, but also 40% minus. So we just had a huge negative quarter over here. We're going to have to wait and see what Q3 is going to bring. Maybe it's going to bring some surprise to the upside and create a green Q3, but it is also possible that we get, a mid-quarter sell-off and towards the end of the quarter retrace that. We'll have to wait and see. We'll go look at some predictions over there. And then typically, as you can see in Q4 is where the big gains are usually made. You can see here, 2013, 479%. Sure, 2014 was negative, but that was after the blow of top. 2013 was the peak of the cycle, right? So the following year, that was basically in the bear market. Positive 81%, 58%, 2017, 215%. Keep in mind, this was the blow of top for the second cycle in 2017. Second year, yes, was down 42%, but this was the bear market capitulation after the blow of top. So 2013, 2017, and then we are looking at 2021, which if the 4-year cycle continues, could be the blow of top. You can see last year we had 168% gain in Q4. I'm very curious to see what Q4 is going to bring. I've talked about the 4-year cycle versus the lengthening cycle. I made a complete video about that. If you haven't watched that yet, I'll link to it up here or in the description below, and you can check that out too, where we talk about the 4-year or the lengthening cycle to determine if we're going to peak potentially in Q4 this year, December, or if it's going to be a lengthening cycle that might take us into Q1 or Q2 of 2022. So let's look at what I said on the 1st of June. That was the last video prediction that I made. And then let's go ahead and look at what I think lies ahead for this month and the months ahead. And what if something like this plays out, where we have this giant sell-off, we have maybe a retest of the lows, something small candle, and then the next 2 or 3 months we make the recovery, we get back to the 65k high, maybe in August or maybe in September, and then by the end of the year we hit maybe 120, 130, $40,000, something like that. Okay, so this is the monthly chart right now, and pretty much exactly as predicted, we had a small kind of inside month. For the month of June, we retested the lows, actually went slightly below it. We went to 28,863 versus the last time the low was 30,104. So slightly below it, but we had a small inside month. So that played out exactly how I thought it would. Now, the question is going to be, is this scenario that I said last month also going to play out, where in the next, say, 2 to 3 months, we just continue to grind higher as the monthly candle plays out like this, and maybe be back at the 65k top by potentially the end of August, maybe the end of September, and then continue for a blow off top in Q4 or maybe even in Q1 of next year. Or another potential scenario here is that we still continue to go sideways a little bit and still have one more kind of sell-off capitulation low below the previous lows, so below the 28k. Maybe we go to 25,000, maybe we go to 20,000. We have this scarce sell-off, then it reverses, and then it starts to put in a massive run to the top, and we have the more extended cycle, which might peak somewhere in April, June, or July, something around there. And this is what that could potentially look like. And the reason why this is a possibility is because both previous times after a sell-off, we have had a capitulation. So in 2018, we had this big sell-off. Obviously, that was the bear market, so it isn't entirely the same, but we had this big final capitulation sell-off to the downside before moving higher. We had the same thing in March 2020. So after the 2019 peak, obviously we had this pullback, this correction, and we had a final sell-off capitulation wick before starting the run up. So it is definitely a possibility that after the sell-off that we had, that we don't go straight up as the previous scenario, but that we could still have one more last scare just before people are thinking, you know, hey, this is it, we're going to reverse, we're going to start going back up, you know, and maybe we hang around below the 40 or 42,000 and we can still sell off, and we dip below that, maybe 25k, maybe even a retest of the previous all-time high of the 2017 cycle, and then reverse and run back up. So those are the two possibilities that I'm leaning towards right now. I am still leaning towards more of the first one, where we don't have a further dip below the 30k, but I'm definitely not ruling it out. So we're going to have to wait and see how this performs. And if we look at this on a weekly chart, this would present more of a rounded bottom style here before going up, which in the same way as the inverse created this rounding top over here, it creates a rounding bottom and it goes up. So it is definitely a possibility. Resistance levels here I'm watching for is around the 42,000 over here, then about 47,000, and then 55,000. If we get back above that, I think we're in the clear, and we can continue higher and hopefully have that blow of top that we're looking for. So let's look at this nice clean chart over here. Let's look at a few other things. So this is the 200 weekly moving average. And this is, I'm starting to see YouTubers and other people starting to talk about this, that, hey, Bitcoin is going to crash down to 14,000 or something like that, which is pretty much the 200 weekly average, which has for the longest time provided the ultimate support. Even at the 2018 capitulation after the bear market, the 2020 crash, it wicked below it a little bit, but basically it provided the ultimate support. So in the very worst case, that's what people are saying, hey, maybe Bitcoin is going back to $14,000. I really think that's very unlikely at this point in time. Of course, nothing is ever impossible, but I think that's highly unlikely. So be very careful who you listen to, and if people are saying, hey, it's going to go down to 14,000, it's always like that. Towards the tops, we're at 60, 65,000. People are saying, hey, we're going to 100, 200K. And then towards the bottoms, when we're at 30K, they're saying, oh, it's going to go lower. It's going to go to 14,000 or 10,000 or whatever the case is. So usually a lot of people are wrong. They call for higher highs at the top and they call for lower lows at or near the bottom. So be very aware of that. Personally, I don't put a lot of likelihood on this at all. So this is the 3-month candle, the 3-month chart, the quarterly close. So you can see we just had that. We had a big green, we had a big red down, and now we're here. And you can see there is, based on just on the candles, right? This was the top of the candle body in Q4 2020. This was where it started from the open in Q1 2021, and it pulled back down pretty much exactly to that level. So I think this level is a pretty strong support and resistance. And what is going to happen over here? Well, time is going to have to tell. But again, like you saw on the monthly last month, the exact same thing, right? Big down month and then a small month and then potentially up. That would follow Q3 being just a small month. It's very possible we can stay within this range for the whole of Q3. So for the next 3 months, that we basically trade maybe between 28,000 and 40,000, somewhere there. We have a very small month, and then Q4, like the historic data suggests, could be another huge big green up move, possibly to the top, and then maybe Q1 or Q2 beyond that for the blow of top. So that is how I'm looking at the 3-month candle chart and what I could potentially see happening in the next 1 to 2 quarters. This is the 6-month candle for Bitcoin, and as you can see over here, we had this big spike up and it pulled back down. Now, I actually don't think this is a bad sign. A lot of the times when you see these kind of candles, in my experience, the next candle goes right back up again besides it. And I think a very good example here to show you that is Ethereum with this exact candle over here. It looks very, very similar, as you can see, and then the next month went straight back up to it, or the next candle, should I say. Okay, in this case it's a monthly time frame, but the candlesticks, whether it's on a week or a month or 6 months or a year, the candlestick patterns tend to behave in the same way. So it's irrelevant what the time frame is. We're looking at the candle, right? And this candle is very similar to this. So I suspect that for Bitcoin, the next 6-month candle is going to do this, and then potentially the next one over there would do that. So let's head back to the Bitcoin chart. And as you can see, that's very, very similar, right? So we have this, which usually a lot of people get tricked by this and they think it's a bearish candle. In my opinion, a lot of the time it's not, and it does what I just showed you, what it did on Ethereum there on the monthly, right? This is 6 monthly. So within the next 6 months, I think there's a good possibility that we go back to this 65K high. And then within the next 6 months after that candle, we could see another big green candle for that blow of top, potentially, Q1 to Q2 of 2022, which would fit in with the lengthening cycle, which would maybe take us to 100 to 120K. I think that's more realistic. There's still people talking about, we're going to hit 200K, 300K before the end of the year. Is that impossible? Well, no, nothing is impossible in crypto. Crazy stuff can happen. Who knows what's going to happen in the world? Black swan events, funds all over the world starting to pile in. Who knows, right? Maybe countries are just going to start giving away Bitcoin and it's just going to take everything to 300K before the end of the year. Maybe. If that happens, that would be fantastic. Personally, I think this is more of a realistic scenario, that we are back by the all-time highs sometime this year and within the next 6 months after that. So by mid of next year, that we have achieved indeed that 100K target. That is completely within the realm of possibility, and that is what I'm seeing from the charts. Obviously, I can't tell the future, and we will only know in hindsight after it's happened whether this ends up playing out or not. So let's move on to Ethereum. Just play a quick recap of last month's prediction, then look at this month's prediction, and then we'll try and wrap it up, because I know the video is getting a little bit longer than usual, but this is important, interesting stuff, and it's especially important because it is the 6-month close. So this is what I said on the 1st of June about Ethereum with my prediction moving forward, when it was then trading at 2,689. Really, we could have a small month again. We could retest these lows. At some point, we could have a retest of 2,000. So let's keep it simple. That is exactly what I said. We could have a retest of the lows. We could have a retest of 2,000, but the lows and that's exactly what it did. It retested the lows, it went slightly below it. You can see over here it went to 1700. We are back at 2200. So that is pretty much exactly how it played out. And what I've said also last time, and I still expect this, is that for Q3, for July, August, and September, I think there's basically just sideways trading. It's in a range, okay? And it will take some time to recover from this blow off top. There's a lot of people who got in, who are the get-rich-quick type of people, who got liquidated on leverage, or who got in because they thought crypto was going to the moon and they could make a quick buck. And after it drops, you know, either they get liquidated or they sell because they think it's going down, or they think we're in a new 3-year bear market, all that kind of stuff. And usually, you know, if the dip is quick and it recovers, it's not really going to shake them out. But if it takes at least several weeks, if not 3 or 4 or 5 months, a lot of those, you know, get rich quick kind of people, they lose. They get out, they're done with it, they panic sell, and then after that is done, there's no more panic sellers. The get rich quick type of people are out. Then we can start to move up. And those exact kind of people usually tend to FOMO back in, you know. So if Ethereum starts going back to 4, 5, 6,000, if that happens, you'll see a lot of the people who panic sold and who got out, they get back in again, and it's the same thing over and over. So that's why it's so important to educate yourself in the market cycles, and in general as an investment philosophy, like Warren Buffett says, you know, when people start to get greedy, you need to start getting fearful, and when people start getting fearful, you need to start getting greedy, right? Just basically do the opposite of the sentiment. And right now the sentiment is pretty negative. People are saying, hey, you know, Ethereum is going back down below 1,000. Bitcoin is going back down below 20,000. It's going to 14,000. You know, that's a pretty bearish negative sentiment. People are saying, hey, you know, the bull run is over. We're in a new 3-year bear market, and so on and so forth. So that, in sentiment terms, is basically according to the philosophy, the right time to start planning your investments, start preparing, and start buying. So for Ethereum, I'm still not expecting too much in the next 3 months. I think we could probably retest the lows once again. So we'll probably go back to the 1,700, 1,800, maybe just 2,000 this time. But it looks like we want to make at least one more candle over here before heading higher. And if Bitcoin does indeed sell off, like I said when I was talking about Bitcoin, if we do get that sell off to $25 or maybe $20,000 and test the 2017 high, there is still a possibility for Ethereum to test that also around the 1,420 level. So I don't exclude that. I don't think it's guaranteed or super likely by any means, but again, we could see some trickery from the markets, have that capitulation low like we saw in the end of 2018, like we saw in March 2020. It is a possibility that we get some sort of wick down before we start moving higher and potentially get that blow off top that we're looking for in Q4 this year, or maybe Q1 or Q2 of 2022. So before wrapping this up, quick look at the 3-month and the 6-month candle. So you can see over here, I don't think this is necessarily bearish. We could have a small quarter over here and then continue going higher. I think we will retest this at some point within the next 12 months. So the 4,000 level, I think there's a good chance that the price does get back there and potentially higher. The 6-month candle on Ethereum looks better than the 6-month candle on Bitcoin. And I think there's a higher chance that Ethereum will outperform and will be quicker to potentially retest the highs that it made around the 4,400 level. And a big reason for that is also fundamental, because this month there's a lot of upgrades scheduled. The EIP 1559 upgrade, which is for the scalability of Ethereum, is meant to go out this month. It could be delayed a little bit, but you know, there's a lot of positive stuff in terms of the scaling and the upgrades to the Ethereum network that might actually cause Ethereum to outperform where Bitcoin might end up lagging a little bit. So at this point, I'd actually be a bit more bullish on Ethereum than I am on Bitcoin, but both of them do still look good, in my opinion, for the next 6 to 12 months. And I'm not going to cover altcoins in this video because we're already long into this video, longer than usual, but basically altcoins are going to end up following Bitcoin and Ethereum. If Bitcoin is going to pump and Ethereum is going to pump, a lot of altcoins are going to follow, and I still think at some point altcoins are going to have a massive blow off top. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the end of this year or whether it's going to be Q1 or Q2 next year, but within the next 12 months, that is my expectation, to still get a blow off top for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, and for altcoins. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you haven't done so already. And get on my email list if you're not on there yet. It's the link in the description below. Then I can send you updates and let you know whenever I upload a new video via email. So guys, thanks for watching. And I'm very, very curious and excited to see what the next 6 months are going to bring for Bitcoin and crypto. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.